For the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag Roll call.
Miss Doherty.
Here.
Miss Matacante.
Here.
Mr. Leahy.
Here.
Mr. Leary.
Here.
Miss Martin.
Here.
Mr. McHugh.
Here.
Mayor Martin.
Here.
7 present.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is under special order of business. We have a spotlight on excellence. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, tonight we celebrate and honor our Deputy Superintendent, Ted Rurak, as the spotlight on excellence. Ted represents excellence to its fullest extent. A dedicated and creative educator of the Lowell Public Schools for 34 years, Ted has always been at the educational forefront to assure that every child in the Lowell Public Schools has the tools to succeed in school. Ted is well known and respected in Lowell. If you were to ask any teacher or parent about Ted, they would respond by saying that he is a genuine, honest, kind, committed, innovative, and caring individual. Previous spotlights on excellence presentations have always been planned and organized by Ted. Tonight, we have the opportunity to turn the tables on Deputy Superintendent Rurak. We have the opportunity to take the lead in this endeavor to honor him on the eve of his retirement from the Lowell Public Schools. Please join us as we take a brief look at Ted's life in the Lowell Public Schools.
Down, say it. I have to see. Should we shut up the lights? Should the lights go on? Should these go on?
Spanning nearly 40 years, this is truly a story of talent, dedication, and service. It began as Ted Rurak earned a master's degree in education from Boston State College in 1972. That same year, he joined the Lowell Public Schools and began his career as a math teacher at the Bartlett. With all the raw talent and enthusiasm of a new teacher, Ted jumped into his work and showed the dedication to students that would become a hallmark of his career. As his years at the Bartlett went by, Ted became more involved in all of the school's activities. And while teaching, he earned his Certificate of Advanced Graduate Studies in 1979. The next year, Ted was chosen to serve as the assistant principal at the Bartlett. Here, he built his skills as an administrator by managing the school's budget and supervising its 50 teachers and 700 students. Then in 1985, he brought his congenial administrative skills to Lowell's Title I program. In this role, he supervised over 200 staff members in a host of specialties. Ted worked diligently to assure that funding for this critical program was always in place, and he managed budgets up to $10 million. Among his many awards, Ted received the prestigious award of Massachusetts Title I Director of the Year in 1997, and then in 1999 was named Title I Director of the Year for the entire United States. Recognizing his diverse talents, Ted was appointed as acting assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction in August of 2000. 2 years later, he was chosen as deputy superintendent. From his central administration office, Ted became involved in every aspect of the Lowell Public Schools operations, while touching all of its employees with his personal, hands-on approach. He will surely be remembered for his effective administration, grasp of complex issues, and perhaps most of all, his easy, ever-present smile. We sincerely hope you can join us on September 28th as we pay tribute to the man who leaves us with his legacy of compassion, dedication, and service.
Your Honor, would you entertain a motion at this time to suspend the rules? To bring in a motion by my colleague, Mr. Leahy?
Okay, does anybody want to be heard on this? Before we do that, is that,
It's all part of the same thing, Your Honor.
okay. Certainly. Motion to suspend the rules by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The rules are suspended. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I'd like to bring a motion forth from the entire committee that we name the new library at the George Saprasera School in honor of Mr. Rorak.
Okay, second by Ms. Doherty. Roll call, please.
Your Honor, I think that proper procedure, the motion has to be sent to the subcommittee on building naming, which I do happen to chair, and so that, because when that happens, Your Honor, what we get to do is we get to highlight the achievements of the person that we're going to honor with the naming, and that becomes part of the school committee's permanent record. And so while it is a formality, it is a huge formality because it forever puts into the school committee record the reasons why the building was named after Mr. Rorak. So in 100 years from now, when who knows if I'm still in the school committee, somebody will be able to look at those minutes and be able to understand why the honor was bestowed on Deputy Superintendent Rorak.
Okay, well, we certainly wouldn't want to deprive you of that
Absolutely
opportunity.
not.
So, all right, so this motion will be referred to the subcommittee on naming. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The matter is so referred. I think Mr. Rorak would like to be heard from if no one else has anything. Ms. Martin?
I'd just like to briefly, and I know that all of my colleagues are going to be saying many of the same things. I guess this is the first time I get to say it first, so that's kind of nice. During my entire tenure on this Lowell School Committee, I have to say I owe a great personal thank you to Ted for the great instruction he's given me. I'm very thankful for it. Our school system, our city today is better because of the work that Mr. Rorak has done, and because of the work he's inspired in those around him. I, for one, am very grateful. I think one of the benefits of having tonight and then, your last actual day and then the actual party and then all these different events is that we're going to have an opportunity to say goodbye many times. I don't know if that's good for us and bad for you, I'm not sure. But I, for one, will say as many times as people ask me that you were a true gift to this department, to this city, and I, for one, am very, very thankful for all the help you've given me over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rorak?
Well, I have just a couple of comments, and I wanted to go last because I have a personal distinction that none of my colleagues can personally share, and none of the administrators can share. But I will share with all of the viewing audience tonight that I was the first girl Ted Rorak saw naked. About a week and a half old, fresh home from the hospital. Him and my brother peeking over the crib. And our relationship developed from there, Your Honor. And it has been a wonderful relationship. From that week and a half old peek in the bassinet. I remember when I was substitute teaching and I got sent to the Rogers School and I was told I was going to be there for a couple of days in a transitional class, and I had no clue what I was doing in a transitional class, so somebody said, go down and see the vice principal, and never said, the vice principal is Ted Rorak, the man who saw me naked a week and a half old. So I walked in, I don't know who was more shocked, him or I, to see that A, he had gotten that much older, and B, that I was already substitute teaching. It has been a long-term, wonderful relationship between our two families, and a very proud moment when you got elected deputy that your parents shared with me. And it's a very sad moment to have to sit here and say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Faticante. Ms. Doherty.
I just have one brief thing, although my experience with Mr. Rourke is not quite as personal as my colleagues. I have to say that I first met Ted as a parent who was involved and concerned, and just he always was so kind and caring and professional and took the time to listen to my concerns and address them, and that meant a lot to me as a parent in a school system as big as Lowell. I think at the time we had 16,000 kids in the schools. To take the time to listen to one parent meant a lot to me, and I know we're really going to miss you. I wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Superintendent, there's other committee members here. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with Ted, I have to say. I always said Ted's been very helpful. Ted does a lot behind the scenes for a lot of folks to understand. If you have an issue, you have a problem, especially with curriculum lately, you call Ted, no problem, I'll take care of it, I'll get you the stuff, and it gets sent to your house. It was just a great pleasure, and I know some of the other committee members that aren't here tonight would love to be here to, I think, be part of that. Timmy Golden in particular, I'd love to hear that conversation. And also, I think Joe Mendonça loves your box plots, those nice little graphs that you used to always give him, and, you know, we'd all look and shake, what is this? But, you know, you made his day, so, and hopefully he's watching tonight. So I think you really, as I say, you're down to earth, you walk with both feet on the ground, you really understand what I think we need as committee members, and you manage to tailor a report that we all understand. It's very clear and concise, and I've always found those to be very helpful. I've enjoyed our conversations, and every time Carla goes away, there's always a problem. And you always manage to handle it. And I think his always advice is, I'm not going to call her for that, you know, I mean, which is nice. I mean, I think she could leave and go away and say the school system was in good hands. And I think that's an important statement for any administrator to say that, you know what, I don't need to check the office. I don't need to find out that what's going on, that things are in good hand. And I hopefully you tell us someday that you let everyone leave early on Fridays too. You found an excuse. Oh, it's Folk Festival weekend. Go home, everybody. Oh, it's going to snow today. Go home, everybody. Those were always famous ones, but I'm sure the people in the office, and more importantly, who's going to sign the payroll now? Because, you know, the payroll must go on, even though you won't get paid from us. Everyone else is going to need to be paid. So those are the little things that I think that go on behind the scenes that a lot of people weren't aware of, and I just think that he's done a great job. I mean, it's sad that you're leaving. I mean, it really is. And I noticed you had the same haircut in 80? I wanted to give you a gift certificate tonight to a barber, but I don't know where you go. And it was going to be a back-to-school haircut for a boy's regular haircut. But I can see you, same stylist for 21 years or 25 years now. So I wish you well, and I hope you enjoy your retirement. Maybe you'll grow that mustache back and really kick back and relax. And I know you'll be like I'm sure George Sapasaris is at home. Hi, George. I know you're home watching, and I'm sure he'd love to be here, too, if he's not out back. Just wishing you well. He's a good colleague of yours, and I know he's smiling because he got to sit and get roasted, too. So I know you're squirming up there. But, you know, as we know, the night's just young. We've just begun. You still got to survive this meeting, too. So with that said, it's been a pleasure, and thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary.
Real quickly, Ted, I know you the least out of everybody, but I really appreciate working with you the past 8 months. Just coming to you with questions regarding curriculum, and some of the questions I have are borderline unintelligent all the way down to perverse, but the enthusiasm and the delight you have in working with me and giving me information, I really appreciate. And more importantly, walking door to door this summer when you gave me that bottle of water when I was basically sweating all over you, shaking your hand, I appreciate that as well. Good luck at your retirement, and you'll be very difficult to, you won't be replaced. And I thank you very much for the time I have worked with you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. Ted, what can we say? I really enjoyed working with you over the last 5 years. And speaking about haircuts, I had a good haircut at the beginning of the summer, and the mayor saw it, so maybe I could turn you on to that. It was pretty close. It's growing out now. But, you know, I think everything that people said here tonight is true, and we're really going to miss you, and good luck with your future endeavors. And Walter Nelson's been filling in with us painting, so if you'd like a job painting, you're more than happy to start Monday. But I really enjoyed, coming to your office and having those talks. So, but get the haircut, we'll start Monday,
Every day.
paint away. So, thank you.
Thank you. If I could add from here too, Ted, that we do really appreciate your intelligence, the work ethic that you bring to your job these many years, and the dedication you've shown to the students in this city and to the city itself. It's a much better place because of your service, and we wish you well. I'll have more to say at the many events to follow from today, but thank you. Madam Superintendent.
If I could just give a few details about one of the future events, the big event, will be Thursday, September 28th. It'll be held at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium from 6 to 10 in the evening, a dinner in celebration of Ted Rurak's contributions to the Lowell Public Schools. Tickets will be available on a first-come, first-served basis for $50. To order tickets, people are asked to contact the Curriculum and Instruction Assessment Office at 978-937-7617, and we'll get that information out to as broad an audience as we can, because we know there are so many people whose lives Ted has touched that we want to make sure that everybody knows about this. So, Ted, I know this is a surprise to you, but it's not a surprise to your wife.
She kept a very good secret, Carla. Thank you. If you would indulge me just a few minutes, I never expected this tribute, and I'm very humbled by your presence here and all my colleagues and friends, and the tribute that you pay as a testimony to what I've done. I am just overwhelmed. I sincerely want to thank everybody for that. This morning, I knew this would be my last meeting officially, and coincidentally, I was getting my cup of coffee this morning, and Carla abstained me from attending Leadership Academy, so I was heading to central office, and I went to get my cup of coffee, and there's a tune being played, and it was Rod Stewart doing a version of an old Bob Hope tune, Thanks for the Memories. And that's how my day started. And I wish to express at this time to the members of the school committee my deepest thanks, and especially for your words of kindness. It's been a delight working with the committee. And I also would like to thank former school committee members Joe Mendonca, Tim Golden, and John McQuaid, as well as former mayors Eileen Donahue and mayors Armand and Rita Mercier as well, for their support during my tenure as the Deputy Superintendent of Lowell Public Schools. I also like to thank George Sapasaris for giving me the opportunity to work with him for 28 years, and also for his recommendation to Carla to give me an opportunity to serve as the acting assistant superintendent of schools. And I'm most grateful to the superintendent for giving me the opportunity to sit in this position and to serve in this position to serve the students and staff of the Lowell Public Schools. One thing there are several things that the superintendent and I share. Our educational philosophy is the same. We both have the same beliefs about education, and we have a sense of urgency and confidence to make sure that we carry out our mission and our goals in the public schools as soon as we can. And we continuously work together with the team to my right to accomplish those goals. But in addition, I must, on a personal note, say that we both share the same love of baseball, and we share the same political beliefs as well. And that made our job much easier to work together. On September 1, it'll mark the closing of my 34th year working in the Lowell Public Schools. And I must say that during that time, I've had the honor and privilege of working with the highest quality of professionals whose primary belief was doing what's best for kids. And that is inclusive from each position at every school in the Lowell Public Schools. It encompasses all positions. And in particular, I want to thank, and this is going back a little bit of history, to the Bartlett School staff with whom I worked with during my tenure as a teacher and as an assistant principal. In addition, I'd like to extend my thanks to the staff of the Title I program during my tenure when I was the director. And most recently, my sincere thanks and best wishes to my CIA think tank team, the Curriculum Instruction Assessment. We added accountability over the last few years. What a wonderful staff I've had, and a delightful time I've had working with all those employees in all 3 sets of teams. And to my central office colleagues to my right, I don't think you could pick a finer, more dedicated, and more knowledgeable group of individuals who are so committed and dedicated to working collaboratively together to move our district forward. I commend all of you that are here this evening, and to all the employees of the Lowell Public Schools, and to everyone that I have served with, for those skills, the commitment that you possess, and the dedication that you demonstrate on a daily basis to serving our children. I respect your passion, your efforts to continuously challenge and support our students, as well as your commitment to improving student achievement while ensuring that we have a safe and respectable learning environment. And I thank all of you and all my friends that may be watching, and I thank for the opportunity that you afforded me to grow professionally and to learn from your experiences and from your knowledge to build lifelong friendships. Most importantly, to my family, I wish to thank them for their love, encouragement, patience, and support. In closing, my years with the Lowell Public Schools have been filled with many rich and rewarding experiences, which I treasure forever. And you know, there is a lot to like about the Lowell Public Schools. Thanks, everyone, for the memories.
Did it without, Pretty good, pretty good.
Thank you. I think that concludes our first agenda item on the Spotlight on Excellence. All of you are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting while we put Ted through the paces here one last time. But certainly, for those of you who wish to leave, that's acceptable too. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of the regular school committee meeting of July 19th.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Motion to approve by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under permission to enter, there is a request to take the community teamwork item out of order. Madam Superintendent, if you could go through the others.
Yes. Recommend the committee enter into contracts with the following individuals and organizations. Jean Parator, $18,000 to provide content training and reading for K-8 teachers, funding provided by the school department's local professional development account. Jean Mann, $25,500 to provide training in writing, funded by the school department local professional development account. The Revolving Museum, $20,050 to provide artistic-led theme and project-based instruction for students in our extended time programs, funding provided by the 21st Century Grant. Education Incorporated, $10,000 to provide academic support and tutoring services for youngsters with special needs who are hospitalized, funding provided by the local budget for hospitalized children. and Slant Associates, $8,750, to provide a program evaluation of the child nutrition program. Funding provided by the school department's food service revolving account.
It's the wish of the committee.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Motion to approve by Ms. Fattacante, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Roll call.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay, and now we could have a roll call on the community teamwork item.
Yes, recommend the committee enter into contract with Community Teamwork Incorporated for $75,000 to provide academic and enrichment activities for up to 225 students in the Citizen Schools program at the Wang and the Extended Time program at the Pawtucketville Memorial and Greenhalgh Schools. Funding provided by the 21st Century Grant.
Motion to approve, Your Honor.
Motion approved by Ms. Fattacante, second by Ms. Doherty. Roll call, please.
Miss Doherty.
Yes.
Miss Fattacante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Miss Martin.
Present.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 present, approved.
Okay. The next item is memorials. We have 2 memorials, one offered by the committee as a whole for Mr. Donald E. McGovern, the retired supervisor of custodians, a very long-serving and dedicated employee of the city, and the second offered by Ms. Doherty for Dorothy C. Eastman, a former Bartlett school teacher. If we could all rise in a moment of silence. May they rest in peace. Okay, I don't believe there is any unfinished business, so that brings us to public participation. There are several people who are registered or have requested permission to speak on the first of the motions. Ms. Fattacante?
Thank you, Your Honor. While these individuals did not, in fact, meet the deadline, we did place them on the agenda. The deadline is Friday at 2 o'clock, Your Honor, as is known in the school department. While these people did not make the deadline, we have put them on the agenda, so I will suspend the rules to allow these 4 individuals to address the committee, Your Honor.
Okay. All those in favor of suspending the rules for this purpose, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let me just read the motion. The motion is offered by Mr. Leahy and Mr. McHugh that the superintendent prepare a report for the school committee on the status of fall, winter, and spring coaching positions, seconded by Ms. Fattacante. Okay, why don't we hear from the folks that wish to be heard on this. First is Matt Welch.
For those of you that don't know me, obviously I'm Matt Welch. I play 2 sports at Lowell High, both of which Coach Boyle coaches. I just come to talk a little bit about how he coaches and the dedication that he shows to both jobs and why he deserves to have both. First off, everyone here has an opinion about Coach Boyle. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I think the players should have the most important opinion because we're the ones that are at all the practices, we're at all the games, all the scrimmages, all the workouts, and we get to see him firsthand as a coach. So I think that our say means the most out of anyone. There are a lot of things that most people don't get to see in the off seasons. When he's not coaching the actual football and the actual basketball seasons, he does a lot in the spring and the summer. For instance, we've played, I think, about in between 30 and 40 basketball games, all of which I think our combined record is maybe 27-3. We've played very well, and because of our well play or our very good team chemistry, I think it's because of him. He built the program up to where it is now. 2 years ago, when I was a freshman, we were 5-15, and we hit rock bottom. Can't get any much worse than that. And ever since then, we've all gotten better as individuals, and we've all gotten better as a team. And I think that's the most important thing. Basically, you've heard a lot about him in the news. You've heard a lot about him not having his basketball contract renewed. But then it was issued in the paper that it was renewed, and he will be coaching both for 1 more year. But I think that the decision about making him decide whether he should choose one in the next week, I feel is too soon, because you're not really showing anything to the players. What would that show to the players of the team he didn't pick? You know, and I think he's in a very tough position as well to try and decide that in this amount of time. But all in all, I think he's the most dedicated coach that I've ever had, probably be the most dedicated coach I ever have in my life. And I'm proud to have him on board. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Welch. The next listed speaker is Joe Harris.
How you doing? I'm Joe Harris, and I also go to Lowell High School, and I have played football and basketball for 3 years there, all of which has been under Coach Boyle. And I've been reading the news in the paper about how he's not going to be able to continue coaching both basketball and football. And just to echo on what Matt said, during the summer league, like I do both summer league for basketball and football, and at almost every single game, he's present there. He's into what we do. He's dedicated to what he does as a coach, to both teams, the football team and the basketball team. And I mean, not to allow him to continue coaching both squads would not just be hurting, like, it wouldn't be hurting the council, it wouldn't be hurting him as much, but it would really be hurting us as players as much, because he has an influence on every single one of our lives and our school careers. And in high school, he helps us with our education. We have to have good grades to play, and he just doesn't want us to meet with the qualification for playing. He wants us to be like at least A students, B students, wants us to get good grades in school. We work hard during the summer league, and he as a coach is one of the most dedicated coaches I've seen in Lowell High, or I've ever seen, because I've been playing football not for much now, but I've been coached by a few people, and he is one of the most dedicated coaches that I've had the opportunity to have been coached by. Like for instance, during football, we have some summer league games, and I used to think that basketball would not allow him to be present for those, but he's at every single game we play. He supports us, he helps us out, and he helps us to get the full football stadium open so that we can have time to work out. Also for basketball, he's at every single summer league game that we have. He's there supporting us, helping us out also, and he helps us out in school as much. And most of what I'm saying is just an echo of what Matt has said. But as a player, I'm going to be a senior this year, and I won't have a chance to be coached by him anymore. But I'm here to speak for not just for myself, but for these guys too, because they're going to be in the school for much longer than I am, and for them to have a coach as Scott Boyle coaching them, that will be more of a gift to them, and they'll have an opportunity to go to college and do more. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. David Brown.
Yes, I'm David Brown, and I'm a sophomore at Lowell High. I've played under Coach Boyle's reign for 2 years, and Matt said that He helps us become better as players and as a team, but he makes us become better people. His character and his intensity and his all-around good charm just rubs off on all of us. Before, when I first arrived at Lowell High on the basketball team as a freshman, a lot of kids had bad attitudes and they didn't want to go to school and didn't want to do their schoolwork. And I believe if it wasn't for Coach Boyle, I might have fallen into that crowd because there was very many of them. But Coach Boyle kept us strong together and united and let us know that although there is sports, we do have a future in life. And college is basically our future. And he's not just driving us to do well in sports, he's driving us to do well in the future in life so that we are able to provide for our families and provide for those who follow us. And I just hope that he's there for at least my tenure at Lowell High School and for those under me, because those of us who have the privilege to play for him, it's been a joyful experience. And I don't think there's anyone out there who could provide for us the way he has. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Next speaker is Dr. David McCumbee. See? Yes.
I'm very privileged to be able to stand before you, our mayor, and all of you, the honorable members of the council committee you have. I would like to speak with one word. Wisdom is justified by her fruits. I think the justification of Coach Boyle as a good coach is not because we like him. I did not know him. I did not take in time to find out what coach is in Lowell High. But my children are there. One of them is Bernard. And Bernard, staying with me, I would check on him. Have you done your homework? Yes. He tells me I'm going for practice, I'm going for this practice, I'm going for the other practice. I say, yeah, well, you're doing all football. But when I looked at the results, academic results, we are going higher and higher. So I said, how is it that you're doing all practice? You're doing football, and you're doing basketball, and you have time to do this. He said, Coach Boyle, make sure I do my homework. He makes sure that I get things done the right way. In fact, today Bernard is in Delaware University. He got a full scholarship from football. But one thing I realized, I saw not just a coach that coaches students, but a person who takes interest in the students to see that they advance and go. They are not simply playing well for the school, which is of course good, but where they are going, he looks in their future. And that made me to have a great impression upon what he's doing as a coach. I said, Bernard, why do you have to take 2 games? Concentrate on one. He said, no, because when we do not play football, I go for basketball. It's open. That keeps me fit. And he, being both the coach of the football and basketball, keeps the children fit. And I think that was practically seen in Bernard's life. I give the credit which Bernard received from this coach, Coach Boyle. He gets the full credit. And the old school Dr. Mr. Samaris, and all the team. Lowell is different. Lowell is changing. And as all of you see here, Lowell today, in 1999, it is not what it is today. Everything is going to a higher level. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for all people who are working for the well-being. And I'm requesting this coach be given a chance, because it is not just work, it is a spirit. He has the spirit of rising up somebody. I did not know that Bernard could rise to that level. He made him to like the football, he made him like to study, he made him like to do everything, like basketball, he became even a captain. It was something that like all of a sudden came, although he had talents, but the talents can be in, if nobody really work on those talents, they never come out. So I'm very grateful, and I'm recommending this great man. I think this is a man I've never seen in many colleges or universities. He's the man concerned. One of the things I noted was when they were asking for those who want to go for scholarships, I found 6 universities came to my home. People were coaches, we are coming. We want him, we want him, we want him. But I don't think they would have just come and say we want him unless he made a point to make sure these universities are aware of him. And I think that's cool. I'm very grateful to you all, and I don't have much, but my recommendation is simple. I have seen a man. I have seen his work. I've seen his fruit. They speak for themselves. Keep him as a coach for football and for basketball. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. On the motion, Mr. McHugh?
Yes, just briefly, I know this has been an issue that's been ongoing, and I think it's also, as being the chair of the athletic subcommittee, an issue that another reason I kind of phrased help phrase the motion the way it's worded is just so we can also get an update of all the coaches that we're going to have for this fall, this upcoming winter, and into the spring. I know we approved some new positions, and I saw that they were actually in the paper, so I'm not sure if we can get any type of update where we stand with the process, because I know that there'll be some new teams this year with new coaches, and it would be nice to get the full list, but also find out actually, where we stand with any openings or if they've all been filled, so we get the youngsters out there on the field. And I'm not sure if the superintendent has any update on the situation at this point.
Madam Superintendent?
Yes, I know the headmaster, Mr. Samaras, is here and would welcome the opportunity to say something.
Thank you. Before I begin, though, I'd like to officially congratulate Ted Rorak for his upcoming retirement. As high school headmaster, I know the work that Ted has done with the high school. As a matter of fact, we sometimes joke because Ted has become an integral part of the staff at Lowell High School. I'll miss his morning call, or my morning calls to him. I don't know if he's going to miss my morning calls. But Ted, on behalf of the staff at Lowell High School, thank you. All right. I think you clearly understand why, as headmaster of Lowell High School, I'm so proud of Lowell High School. These are great kids, okay? I mean, talking from the bottom of their hearts, no question in my mind. And the parent, active at the high school, I mean, been involved because of his children and other children. That's what it's all about. So when I made the decision to go for one coach for one sport, it was not an arbitrary and capricious decision on my part. It's part of the mission statement for this high school to make Lowell High School the best high school it can be. Lowell High School is a very good high school, but it's not a great high school at this point. There is a soft underbelly in the high school of many children need. Coach Boyle has met some of those needs, but the needs are so intense that no one person can do it. We need many soldiers at Lowell High School to reach out to each and every student at Lowell High School. This is what is part of the plan that will be unfolding. It's not just only athletics, but it also is to do with the student activities, but more important to all of the academics, because when we talk about attendance, when we talk about reasons why children should want to come to school, these young men express some of those reasons. But unfortunately, I have many that don't understand those reasons. I have to make sure I have the soldiers with enough time to reach out to each and every child of the school system or of my high school. And when I say my high school, these are my kids. And I don't want them to be upset. But the thing is, when it comes to administering the high school, I have to think of the mission of the high school. So at this point, I'm going to request that Mr. Boyle give me a decision by the end of the week as to selecting one team. I know it's a hard decision on his part. It's a very hard decision on his part. But the thing is, for the good of the school, the total good of the school, this is what I expect. And although hard, he too will understand that it's for the best of the school. So unless there's any questions, or if you want, Mr. Martin is also here available to touch upon some of the issues that we've talked about.
Are there questions or comments from other members of the committee for Mr. Samaras? Mr. Leary.
Just real quick, and I don't know Scotty Boyle personally, but I have observed Scotty Boyle probably over the last 11, well, I've been here 12 years, but all 12 years, mostly from the YMCA, watching him really work with kids and helping them learning how to train with weights. And that's long before he was a head coach of anything in the Lowell sports area. I don't think anyone here, the administration, the school department, is saying that Scott Boyle is not a major asset to the athletic program at the high school. Sure. I think what we need to articulate to folks is we need more resources to go out and get, I guess, quote unquote, the underbelly of the folks students we're not reaching. And if we can use examples of Scotty Boyle and duplicate them in this area again and again, we'll be that much more successful. Now, things change, and I've heard folks say there's in Chelmsford, we have people coaching 2 sports, and that's fine. And not to get off on a tangent here, but I can remember my father saying in the 50s they would stop baseball games so he could go run track and go back and play baseball. That doesn't happen anymore. I think Lowell is a very innovative and creative department. I think we have what the headmaster touched base on regarding the mission statement. It really goes back to a motion that I had made earlier in July about looking at to see does every function, and really primarily the housemasters working within the mission statement, is to take a look at where our resources are and how we can use them more efficiently. It's not to attack anybody. Sometimes people feel that we're attacking somebody because we're making changes. I think the whole program, the athletic program, is a good one. And listen to the 3 gentlemen speaking today. I'm encouraged. There was nothing written down by the 3 gentlemen. They came out and just from the heart and very articulate. And I think that's really a reflects on Coach Boyle and the athletic director and the headmaster and the entire staff at the high school. So I think having one coach per varsity sport in the long run is going to be a very positive event for the entire school system. So I'm inclined to take a look at this, and I think the chairman of the athletics will definitely take a look at it further, I'm sure, in his committee in terms of how this better improves the overall athletic program, and more importantly, the Lowell High School. And I know that the Lowell High School subcommittee will be looking at this in other areas too. So again, I want to say, Scott Boyle is a major successful asset to the school department. It's just that we have not a lot of resources and money coming from the federal government, et cetera. We need to use resources and have them challenged in other areas. So I'm long-winded here, and I apologize, but I wanted just to get that out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Further questions or comments or questions for Mr. Samaras? On the motion, all those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved.
Does Mr. Martin? Did Mr. Martin have something to add? Does Mr. Martin? Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Martin.
If you want.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I had to echo the headmaster's remarks about these student athletes. They're terrific kids. They really are. And I think back when I was a young teacher coach starting out that Ted Sizer, who was the headmaster at Phillips Andover, wrote something, I never forgot it, and he said the relationship between a coach and an athlete and a student athlete is perhaps the greatest teaching tool that anyone can imagine. You're in an environment where the kid likes it, they're having fun, they develop close relationships that go on forever, and that's what we have right here. That's not the issue. The issue is that we have two major programs at the high school that need that kind of dedication. And way back when last summer, when Coach Boyle felt overwhelmed and left for football, and we eventually got him to come back, started me thinking about all of the overwhelming tasks that go with this. And it is. It's a big issue. And quite frankly, I watched it the whole year. But at the end of the day, it's a Division I high school program. It's a major sport, a primary sport that requires the full attention of a coach throughout the year. And not that that isn't happening now, but I really believe two people should be doing that, and that would be in the best interest of the high school. That's what Ray Riddick did. That's what George Bossy did. Charlie Ryan did it in basketball years ago. Stockloser did it. Jimmy McGurk did it with women's track, and that's what we need. And I don't take anything away from the effort of Coach Boyle because he does work hard. But this is about kids. And kids should go from sport to sport with a clean slate and not feel like, oh, I can't go here because this coach is there, or not go there because of that coach. And that's not fair to the kids. Some kids might not play because of that, and that's not a good thing. My recommendation, along with the headmaster and the superintendent, really, is to do one sport. And our hope is that Coach Boyle will choose a sport, be the greatest coach in the history of that sport, in the history of Lowell High School, and have the most successful career that anyone could have. That's our hope, and that's our goal. But at the end of the day, I have to agree that it is an overwhelming task. And that's what we talked about a year ago, and we're right back here a year later. It hasn't changed. It's a tough, tough thing. And I think the headmaster and the superintendent should be commended for the support of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, anything further from committee members? Ms. Martin.
Could I just because I think, and I'm certainly, I share with my colleagues the really being impressed with the level of candor and the sincerity that the speakers tonight showed us. I think just so everyone in the audience is aware of what the process is from this point forward, you know, having approved this motion, it's basically going to the athletic subcommittee. It is a public subcommittee where individuals can attend, and that's where this conversation is going to happen. So nothing's been decided this evening where that conversation is going to happen as part of a larger conversation. I'd just like to say, having listened to a number of different arguments on both sides of this issue, I recognize it as critically important to the students who are impacted by it. I think that you will find that this committee and certainly the subcommittee will give a very reasoned and thoughtful review. I can say for myself that I think it's very impressive to have a coach engender this kind of support. But I do think that it is in the best interest of both cadres of athletes to have an individual coach working with them. I think that we've been certainly lucky, like the city of Lowell is so many times, to have extraordinary individuals working in our school department, and that even happens off the athletic field, which is kind of nice too. But I think that we need to recognize moving forward that there are greater and greater demands being placed on those coaching positions, and we need to be realistic in what we expect of individuals. I think we are particularly aggressive in what we want for our student athletes, and I think that we are particularly thoughtful of the idea that they are students first and athletes second. So as we, again, for the individuals who have taken time and who I think have spoken so well to know what the next phases of this process are, I hope if nothing else as you walk away, if this is, I suspect for many of you, the first time you've had an opportunity to address government, I think that that's an extraordinary opportunity to have before the age of 18 or so. Certainly something I never would have had the the gumption or the bravery to do. So that is impressive in and of itself. And I think as we move forward, we'll be looking at seeing improvements across all of our sports teams and across all of our academic endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fedicante.
Thank you, Your Honor. I did want to also echo what Ms. Martin was saying, that these young men needed to, and the parents who are listening and watching, that there is a process, and the process will be that this motion goes before the athletic subcommittee, and the meetings are public. We will hear the recommendations of Mr. Samaras and Mr. Martin, and we will take a look at those. But the reality is that we're Lowell High School. And when I say that, it means something. And what it means is we're the 4th largest high school in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with about 17,000 students and a Division I opportunity. And yes, do I expect huge amounts of effort from my coaches? Simply because I truly have come to understand the relationship between a coach and the young men and women that are coached by them. And that relationship is enormous. And do I expect a coach to walk into a classroom and find out if Bernard is there and is doing his homework? Yes, I expect that. Do I expect that coach to be looking at Matt's report card? Yes, I expect that. And do I also expect that coach to get Joe a scholarship? Yes, Your Honor, I expect that. Because for some young people, the only avenue to college, the only avenue is to get that scholarship. And because we're Lowell High School, and because we're Division I, who better than our student athletes than to have those opportunities? That being said, that comes with a huge requirement of effort on behalf of our coaches. There's another coach sitting here in the audience tonight, and he will tell you that that is an exhaustive duty. And I think that there's a lot to be said for one person coaching one particular sport and putting every ounce of effort into that. I appreciate these young men being here tonight because I appreciate the relationship that they have with their coach, and that I'm really pleased to hear that their coach has fostered that kind of dedication, because that's what I expect. And I think that when we sit here, we expect that kind of academic dedication. You can't play if you don't get the grades, and that kind of dedication to your sport. And I appreciate hearing that. And I am part of the athletic subcommittee. I do want to invite these young men and young women who are interested in this issue to come down and address us. We will be having discussions about this. I'm sure my colleague, Mr. McHugh, who heads the subcommittee, will be calling a meeting shortly, and that I really do want to address this issue and put this particular issue to bed also, because I understand that it is upsetting to these young people. But I think what Mr. Martin just said was, it's about the young people, and that's why we're making a very tough decision, because it does really concern them. And if it concerns them, then it needs to concern the 7 people who sit here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? Just before we take the vote on the motion, I too would like to recognize the folks that came down and spoke tonight. I actually knew 2 out of the 3 players who spoke. I knew they were pretty good players. I also knew they were pretty good students, but I had no idea they were such passionate and effective speakers. So I want to congratulate you. We're all proud of you and the work that goes on at the high school. I'm sure your parents are as well. Thanks for presenting your views so eloquently and effectively. And we hope to see you down here again under less controversial circumstances, maybe back when you have won the championship this year. All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is approved. Thank you. The next motion is by Mr. McHugh. Request the superintendent report on the freshman academy students and their ability to use the library. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you. It came to my understanding in talking with a parent this summer regarding the access to libraries by the freshman academy students. And if folks don't know, actually the new freshman academy is a new idea to keep the freshmen over at a building and kind of keep them together. However, there's no library in that building that they have resources to. So it's my understanding the parents said the children are not allowed a pass or aren't able to do research in the Lowell High School library unless they do it prior to school opening or after school is closed. And this particular student is a student athlete and does play in multiple sports, so it makes after school very difficult to get over there and do a research project because they're off to the stadium for athletics. And prior to school, school starts pretty early now. To get down there, I'm not sure what time the library is open prior to school. So I just found that a little difficult. I know they go over for phys ed. It's my understanding they actually do go over to attend their phys ed classes. So there is some movement, and I would only ask that we look into this before the prior opening of school and address this. If students really need to use the library, I'd like to make sure they have that as an ability to do. So if I could get a report back on the situation and what is the solution for this year to address this, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All those, Ms. Doherty.
Yes, I'd just like to add to that because I just was aware of this when I talked to Mr. McHugh last night. I think it would be very important that this be forwarded to the Lowell High School Subcommittee with some sort of plan in place for the fall, because clearly we have to have access to the library for our freshman students. So are you okay with, I guess it would be amending your motion to say to forward it to the high school subcommittee with a plan for how we can make sure that the students...
No, I'm okay with that. I just want something done before the opening of school.
I agree.
I think that's the issue.
So if we could try to, speed up this process, we've only got a few weeks, and they can put together, the high school can put together some sort of plan and submit it through the high school subcommittee, because I think I agree completely. We have to get something.
I would only ask that all the committee members got a copy of, not just the subcommittee members, just so we all can see the report. And it's fine to send it there if it needs to be fine-tuned at that point.
Okay, great. And then if you wanted to attend the high school subcommittee, if you had specific concerns, or we can talk about it on the floor after we meet about it.
All right, thank you.
All right, so this motion is amended by Ms. Doherty for the report to be sent back to the high school subcommittee. Second on...
With a plan of how the freshman academy students will have access to the library.
Right. That's what the original motion asked, I think, for that.
Okay, yes, sorry.
So, so the amendment is really just to report back to the subcommittee with this plan. Okay. Is there a second on the amendment?
Okay, McHugh, you want to second it?
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion's approved.
As amended.
As amended, correct. Next motion is by Ms. Martin. Request the superintendent provide the curriculum and instruction subcommittee with a month-to-month breakdown of general topic areas that will be covered during the 2006-2007 school year for both English language arts and math for elementary and middle school levels. Seconded by Ms. Doherty. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much. What I'm hoping to have for the curriculum and instruction subcommittee to review would be really just a listing of benchmarks that would allow this committee, and more importantly, would allow parents the opportunity to be able to gauge their child's success or their progress, perhaps is a better word, over the course of the school year. We've made some very significant investments in this district to ensure that we have a district-wide curriculum in place for English language arts, for our math programming at both the elementary and middle school levels. Part of that was an effort to really be able to, I guess, recognize the transient sometimes nature of our population, that we do have students that move from school to school, so that we can have students making those moves without it impacting their education in an adverse way, to have that kind of consistency throughout our district, so that students at every one of our schools is moving forward in the same, if not at the same rate, at least in the same sequence of topic areas. I don't for a moment pretend that every classroom in our district is doing the same thing at the same time and on the same day. That would be a little frightening on every, a little too Stepford even for us. But I do think that we should be able to have a listing of general topic areas that are easily recognizable by parents, so that they really can track their child's progress on an arc that is consistent throughout our district. I think it would be a good tool for parents to have just in judging their own child. And again, I think it would be an extremely positive thing for this committee to be able to look at what the expected progress is and what the expected topic areas in any given year for a specific grade level in our district. So that was the thought process behind the motion. I would like it to go to the Curriculum and Instruction Subcommittee so we have an opportunity to look at the data, make sure that we can present it in a way that is that's substantive, but that's also useful and usable for our families and for the community at large in their efforts to look at our system and be able to effectively judge and our work during the course of the year. So that is the motion. I would like to be able to present it at our September meeting. I realize it's a large request. I realize that the person I'm making it to this evening, one Mr. Ted Rorak, will not be the one who is actually doing it. I don't know if that was the reason for the retirement, but hopefully not. I'd hate to be the straw. But I would like to be able to, in September, be able to have our parents have, for us to be able to present this at our September meeting so that parents have it at the beginning of the year as a tool that they can use throughout the school year.
Okay, thank you. Anyone further? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Mr. Leahy. Request the superintendent send a letter of welcome on behalf of the members of the school committee to the new city manager, and in addition, with the request to schedule a meeting at his convenience, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you, Your Honor. The motion speaks for itself. Just like to send over a welcome letter, and when we can set up a meeting with the new manager, we can bombard him with our concerns and really make them feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? All those in favor of the motion
Aye.
say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next motion by Mr. McHugh. Request an update on the status of the elevators in all of our schools. Second by
I'll second.
Ms. Faticante. Mr. McHugh.
Yes, I happened to be going around and saw that some of the elevators in the buildings have been put on notice and been shut down. The state inspectors came through this summer. I'm just concerned that there is a plan in place to address this before the opening of school, and if there, for some reason, there's going to be a delay in getting them repaired, what is the plan to address, anyone who has disability needs to be able to get around and gain access to the building? So we've kind of thought through that. At the opening only being a week or so away, I'm hoping that that's been looked at, because I would, I'm hoping that it'll all be fixed, if not prior, as soon as possible. So if maybe somebody could just give us a verbal at this point, it'd be a nice idea. And then if I could get a follow-up or a report, that'd be really nice.
Okay, thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, you have something that Assistant Superintendent Lang provided for me today, that I think at your table, to indicate that that indeed a number 11 of our, do I have that number right? 10 of the elevators we were put on notice that they needed repair, and in particular safety features added, and that the work is underway. The contract was issued, and a great deal of work is taking place right now. We're cautiously optimistic that they'll all be ready for the first day of school, but we are watching it very carefully, and Mr. Curley is reporting now weekly to Mr. Lang, so that if it really does get to the point where it looks like one or two of them are not going to be ready that first day, we're prioritizing where we know we have students who have to have access to the elevator, so we're trying to prioritize where we most need it, and we'll have a backup plan in the event that one or two are not available that first couple of days of school in schools where we need them.
Yeah, I would just appreciate that, especially let your principals know and have some type of immediate action plan to deal with the students on that first day, because they need to have access to all the programs without the building, and I hopefully we've had that discussion and they got something in place to deal with this.
Yes.
Because it may be a little bit of time.
Yes.
Thank you.
One of the consequences, and I want to express our appreciation to the custodians who in those schools had the extra burden this summer of doing a lot of the moves without benefit of functioning elevators. So I do want to express our appreciation to them. We recognize that it must have been pretty tough, particularly during those really hot days, to have that extra challenge.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion's approved. Next are subcommittee reports. I believe there's a report from the Personnel Subcommittee. Ms. Martin, Chair.
Thank you very much. The Personnel Subcommittee did meet on August 15th, Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Present were myself, also members of the subcommittee, Regina Fatacanti and Kevin McHugh, and also present from the school committee were Jackie Doherty, and from the central administration were Superintendent Carla Brooks-Bear. This was the meeting of the Personnel Subcommittee was held in to complete the evaluation process of the superintendent, something that has certainly been going on and that we've been discussing over the course of, the last couple meetings. This was the opportunity for the subcommittee and for any other members of the committee as a whole to attend, to be able to discuss the final tallied results that each individual member of this, of the school committee and the mayor as our chair have completed. The process really contains two different parts. The first part of the evaluation is much larger, and it really is the overall evaluation of the superintendent on a variety of topics, a variety of specific items. I think upwards of about, looking at 75 different items that each one of the committee members would judge the superintendent on. They do range from the relationships that the superintendent has with the school committee in terms of communications, in terms of working together to solve problems. It also includes the topic areas of community relationships, staff and personnel relationships, educational leadership, business and finance, personal qualities, always a fun area. Superintendent's image, managerial ability, and personal characteristics and decision-making ability. These are all the areas that, over time, this committee has crafted this instrument to reflect. As we look at the overall rating for all of these topic areas on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, the superintendent, in summary, has scored a 4.06. Based on all of the contributions from each one of the committee members. It was discussed at the subcommittee, and it was recommended that we say to the committee as a whole that the document as presented this evening with all of those numbers in it be accepted as the overall evaluation of the superintendent for her performance of the previous school year, 2005-2006. And I would make that in the form of the motion.
A motion for the committee as a whole to adopt the report of the subcommittee by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. McHugh. Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty?
Yes.
Ms. Fatacanti?
Yes.
Mr. Leahy?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. McHugh?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay.
I would also say, I would defer to any of my colleagues if they'd like to speak at this time on the overall performance of the superintendent, or if they'd prefer we can do it at the conclusion of the next section, the priority goals, whichever you'd like to do. Wait until, okay. So the second part of this meeting was to review the priority goals. As part of the superintendent's contract, we did determine 8 priority goals. This committee made that decision at the beginning of last school year for 8 areas that we placed particular priority on, and that were tied to a $5,000 stipend within the superintendent's compensation contract. The determination had been made, and this is, I believe, the second year that we've gone through this now, or the third year, I'm sorry, that a score, we used a scoring system similar to the other instrument of between 1 and 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and that the achievement point for substantially achieved was that midpoint of number 3. Again, all members of the school committee participated in the evaluation. I should make a special note that one of the 8 priority items. 1B, which refers to capital planning, working with the City Council to adopt a 5-year capital and maintenance plan that ensures the school department's essential facility needs are met. Again, as discussed at our last school committee meeting, we did say that we had deferred judgment on that item because it was an area that neither the committee or the council had worked on, and so we were not going to be evaluating the superintendent based on that. So we were then looking at 7 goals that we were going to be using as our priority goals. Just to give individuals a sense of what these goals focus on, I'll name off a few of them. One, E, having to do with developing a FY07 budget that effectively allocates resources. Also, the, securing additional discretionary funds, grants that we can use within our district, establishing the freshman academy and student advisory periods at Lowell High School, looking for specific percentages of increase, a 20% increase in the percentage of freshmen who earn promotion, and a 20% improvement in average student daily attendance. We were looking for the superintendent to implement our mathematics initiative across the district. Other topic areas included working with our leadership staff, principals, assistant principals across the district. Again, another budget topic, budget options and recommendations, and sustaining effective communications with administrators, faculty, staff, the community, and the school committee itself. Having compiled all the results of this evaluation, our average was a 3.33. For the superintendent's evaluation. I will also say that as we had included within it a yes or no, that for committee members to basically sign off on whether they felt the superintendent had met or not met, and we did have 6 out of the 7 members who did sign off that the superintendent had indeed substantially achieved the goals. So again, I would make the recommendation to the full committee that we accept the attached documents with all the numbers and ratings as the judgment of the committee of the superintendent's performance over the course of this past year, and recommend that we approve the $5,000 performance-based stipend.
Roll call.
Okay.
I need a motion.
Motion to adopt the recommendation of the subcommittee by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Doherty. Anyone further? Roll call.
And to approve the $5,000.
This would be to
Yeah, and
give
to
the
approve the
right.
$5,000 performance bonus. Right.
Performance, okay. Ms. Doherty,
Yes.
Ms. Fattacante.
No.
Mr. Leahy,
Yes.
Mr. Leary,
Yes.
Ms. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
6 yeas, 1 nay, approved.
Is that the conclusion of the subcommittee report?
Unless, I would just like to say that, in going through the evaluation process now a number of times, I'd like to thank my colleagues for their participation and in getting their evaluation instruments into the office in such a timely way. I was very appreciative of that. It really made the process much, much easier. In terms of the actual evaluation, I'd just like to say that I appreciate the very hard work that our superintendent has done in our district. I think as we move forward, our demands upon her and her staff grow more challenging every day. And I don't say that in way of an apology, I just say it in way of a warning, I guess. And that is the way we continue to look in this city, and the expectations we continue to have for our school district and for our city as a whole. And I would certainly welcome any of my colleagues if they'd like to take this opportunity to comment on next year. And
Thank you. Mr. McHugh.
Just briefly, I think that the superintendent had a very good year. I was very impressed, and I've continued to be impressed with the curriculum push that we keep doing. I mean, to me, that's what education is all about. It's about reaching out to all the youngsters, and I've seen that. I mean, every program we talk here at our level is about reaching the youngsters that need the help to get them and bring them with the rest of the classroom and move them forward. The superintendent has focused on that. I think we made huge strides, and we ran into a couple bumps in the road with some bad budgets. So what really impressed me this year was the fact that she worked with her principal and they came up with the trade-offs. And that to me was something. How do you look at the budget knowing that we were going to have a tough year, but to come up with some ideas, to be creative and look at what could we trade off to still focus on curriculum. And I thought that that was a nice way to make this budget process, I thought, go a lot easier than it has in the last couple of years. Even though it was a difficult budget to still get to that number, we got there. And we got there, I think, without a lot of gnawing of teeth or going back through a number of reductions and a lot of work. And I think that was a big plus this year, and I really appreciate that. I think that makes our job a little easier, and we did have priorities amongst ourselves, and that came into it, and I see in the future that's going to be where the focus is going to still be. Hopefully the funding will start to turn the corner and head the other way, and I think we need to put things back. And I think this budget, we also had a chance to talk about those priorities, and I know it's summer school is a big one. It was a big one when I came on a long time ago, and it ramped up, and it's been ramping back, and I think we're not reaping the benefits. I know some other members through the budget process talked clearly about that, and we need to get that back. So, but I think we've gone in a great direction, and she's managed to focus on curriculum, so I think that it was a very good year. I mean, there's always some minor things. I mean, there's no perfect superintendent, where none of us are perfect, but I think you have to take the good with the bad, as they say, and I think there's more good than there are other issues, and I think there's always going to be little things we'll talk about. So with that said, we're going in the right direction. I'm proud to have you leading the ship. One last thing, Ted, will still miss you. I mean, you can come back for free. You'll help offset some of the budget costs. So with that said, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy?
I'll speak on behalf of John.
Sorry.
Sure, I'll echo what I'm trying to say. Just real quick, I'll be quick too, and I'd like to start off with where Committeeman McHugh left off, leadership. And I always look at, it's almost like Stephen Covey, the 7 habits, whatever the actual title is. It really is leadership when you're the superintendent, and you hire efficient managers, the principals in the schools, to do exactly what our policies are and what our goals are. And I was very excited is not the right word, but I think it was very appropriate that we had trade-offs and allowing the people, the principals in the schools to really have a say as how their operation, how their school is going to run. There's a lot of times I grit my teeth because I always have a thought that maybe we should change it a little bit and tweak it a little bit. But if you're going to hold them accountable to success, then we need to let them, Bill Parcells is quote unquote buy the groceries, and I think that's creative. But now we need to hold them accountable. I did vote to give you the, I call it the bonus incentive. I don't remember the correct terminology that's in the contract, but I think you do deserve it. You worked hard. In saying that and voting for that, I do want to point out next year we really need to take a look at how we're using, how we are doing with the MCAS scores. And I like a lot of the words we're using now in terms of benchmarking. In a review regarding curriculum for next year, I think that's important. I think we need to benchmark ourselves against the urban schools, whatever they are in Massachusetts. We should do that across the board nationwide. We also need to start benchmarking ourselves against other schools in the state and challenge ourselves to be successful. So that's an area where we need to hold you accountable to be successful. And I think with your leadership and some of the changes you made next year in some of the schools that we have, some of the changes in principles, which was an article in the paper a couple of days ago, I think we have I'm optimistic we have a chance to be successful. But we need to really make sure that it reflects not only in the holistic education of the students, but also, unfortunately, we have to be successful with the MCAS. It's not going away. We need to make sure we need to reach 100%. That should be our stretch goal. We need to get there. And I'm really going to hold, I guess, you accountable to get there. Other than that, I really think the only area where I think that was negative, and I think we need to point this out, is really the freshman academy, where we didn't come anywhere near close to reaching our 20% goal of reducing the attendance. And I think we've had an offline discussion this week regarding the entire evaluation. I think that's an area where we must be successful. And I think that with the attention that all the athletic subcommittee, the Lowell High School subcommittee is focusing, the curriculum, we have a good shot of being successful in that area. The other area I really want to, touch base on is is curriculum, which my counterpart next to me just went into great detail on. I think that's an area where we're having great strides and great success. We need to continue to do that. So I look forward to working with you next year, and hopefully we can get my 3.07 to like a 3.08 or 09 or something higher than that.
Thank you. Ms. Doherty?
Yes, I'd like to just add a few words. Kind of to piggyback on the curriculum piece, that's been an area that's been a real priority to me, and I guess part of what I marveled at was our ability to do more with less, is what we keep talking about, and having to continue to do that as the funding and the resources seem to dwindle. The part with the curriculum that really has me excited, I guess is the word I would choose, is the flexible grouping we're going to be doing with ELA and math at the middle schools. That not only are we focusing on those children who most need the services, our remedial children, but also pushing the middle kids to be challenged at their level, and our highest achieving students to also be challenged. And this is something I think I'm really hopeful. I can see it on the horizon. I feel like we really have made some progress in the last year with the planning and the pilot math program we did at the middle school, and how we were able to make that huge jump with all middle school now, not just the 7th and 8th graders in math, and now with the ELA. So I was really very happy to see that happening. That really, I think, again, as my colleagues mentioned earlier, the curriculum piece is hugely important to me. The other piece that I think that's really important is the safe and respectful climate. That we need to consistently have schools where kids and staff and administrators, teachers, that everybody feels safe and is respected. And I think the superintendent has got a handle on how to at least start a baseline and how to look at that, so we can evaluate where are we showing progress in that, what's working for some principals, what isn't working, and to really have a dialogue about this so that we can make all our schools consistently safe and respectful environments, because without that, there's not much learning that's going to happen. So those were two major areas that I really felt pointed to us continuing to make progress and improving the quality of education and the experience for our staff and employees about being an educator in Lowell Public Schools. So I'm very optimistic that we're going to continue to make progress, and I want to thank the superintendent for her commitment to excellence in improving Lowell Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leahy.
Thank you. I just also wanted to say thank you for your commitment. I said what I had to say in my evaluation, and we've had many conversations, but thank you for your dedication, and I do think that we are headed in the right direction, and that I can't say much more. I'm just very happy that you're with us. You've had many opportunities to go to other districts or even to lead the state, so thank you for your dedication in Lowell.
Thank you. If could I just add briefly from here, I too, I think, gave a pretty favorable evaluation, and I think that's reflective of the work I think you're doing, and I think the quality of our school system. I think we have a pretty good school system here that's continuing to improve. And it wasn't perfect, and like Mr. Leary said, I think we could do better on test scores, or in particular communicating about our test scores and what they mean to people, because I think we're unfairly judged many times, and even though we're making progress, that progress isn't accurately reflected to the public. I get approached by parents about schools that we all think are doing quite well, and they're concerned because of some unfavorable press report about test scores. So I think that's something we can do better in. I think we could also do better in the actual scores in some cases. But overall, I'm very pleased with the progress of the system and your dedication to it. So thank you. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you very much. I thank the committee for the effort and the candor and the comprehensiveness of the feedback. I want to thank my staff. I mean, the committee members know that nobody could have a better central office staff than I have. So none of this would be possible without them. We have Lowell's privileged to have a wonderfully strong group of principals assistant principals and administrators, and a faculty and staff that are really committed every day to doing the hard work that's involved in bringing kids to high levels of achievement. So I really take this as a reflection of their work, because none of what I do would be possible without their hard and effective work. I wanted to say something about the MCAS scores and ongoing achievement. I do know that our hard work ultimately should be reflected in MCAS scores. It's not a direct one-for-one, because what we're doing in our math classes and in our English language arts is bigger than what can be tested in math on an MCAS. That said, I want to try to work with the local paper to make sure that they present accurate information about MCAS scores. I came back from vacation to see that there had been something in there about having the second or third lowest scores in the state. That's simply not true in the composite or on any individual test. So I'll certainly work in working with the local media and our own communications about the progress that we are making. Our scores, nowhere are our scores as high as we want them to be. We're not going to lose sight of what we're really trying to do is to develop in youngsters high-level ability in mathematics and as writers and as readers, curious people, confident learners who are really ready when we graduate them from Lowell High School to be really contributing citizens and contributing members of their families. So that's a bigger job than will ever be reflected only on MCAS. We're going to keep our eye on high-level skills, knowledge, and habits for lifelong learning. The MCAS score improvement will come. I'm confident of that because we've got good curriculum, good programs. The school committee has been absolutely, totally committed to using every possible resource that we have to supporting the efforts that we've proposed around mathematics, English language arts. You've been tireless in your advocacy for adequate textbooks, major investments in mathematics materials, major investments in science materials, materials to support the English language arts program. And so as superintendent, I know that I've had the benefit of enormous both support from the school committee, but also very good questions, very challenging questions, and you've thrown out the gauntlet to us to make sure that the school system continues on the rise, and that we simply will not rest until every one of our kids has been provided with not just the opportunity, but has been able to take advantage of the opportunity to become a strong and effective lifelong learner. So that's where we're heading. I appreciate the support, and I appreciate more than I can tell you the privilege of being superintendent in the Lowell Public Schools.
Thank you. Ms. Martin?
Thank you. Just to conclude the Personnel Subcommittee report, we will be developing the priority goals for next school year, for the 06-07 school year, and we are planning on having those ready to present to the full committee for this, again, the September meeting as we start our new school year. We'll have those new goals based on the recommendations of the entire of the subcommittee, and the entire committee is encouraged to participate as well. That paperwork has already been distributed. So I would submit that as a report of progress for the Personnel Subcommittee.
Okay. Motion to accept the report as a report of progress, place it on file by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Under reports of the superintendent, Madam Superintendent.
Yes, just a few brief reports. The first is a bad news report that does not directly, immediately affect the school department, but the school department handles all grants for early education and care for the city of Lowell. Last year, we managed $3.1 million in grants, and this year we learned just 2 weeks ago that that's been cut by 15%, by $436,000. We had not expected this. The biggest impact will be a major contract that the Community Partnership for Children has with the Massachusetts Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Children for mental health services for the youngest, most vulnerable children in the community, and for the family daycare and for the professional development that staff in family daycare and other daycare settings in the city have been able to have to support their development as child care workers, as the professional development programs that enable them to ultimately earn college degrees, first through Middlesex and then a bachelor's degree. So this is a tough hit for the youngest children and in the city. So that we know that the service will be interrupted. We have been told that the monies will be available in a competitive grant. So we are applying for the competitive grant. We know that we have in Lowell a reputation across the state for superb coordination of early childhood programming. So we know that we have a really good reputation going into that competitive grant process. So we are cautiously optimistic that we will eventually get that $415,000 back. The problem is that the services for youngsters and their families and for the staff of the programs will be disrupted because they were counting, and we were counting on being able to have this money through the fall and early winter. So the earliest we'll be able to resume those services, will be something like January or February. And, children and their families don't just stop having needs. You can't turn off the faucet, and start it up again in 6 months without some loss. So this is a really unfortunate consequence of the state's reorganization of these services and changes. We wish we had had earlier notice so that we could have worked in the community partnership with children to prioritize some needs and not have it just told to us, in the summer. It's really unfortunate. I want to applaud particularly the staff in our early childhood department who've gotten onto this right away and are working very, very hard to try to minimize, you can't minimize the damage, but to try to blunt some of the damage of this. But I wanted the committee to know that that has happened. That will have a long-term effect on the school department because the youngsters whose needs are not served as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds will come to school less prepared, more at risk, less prepared for school and more at risk of failure. So it's really unfortunate that we're in this position, but that's what we are.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report. It's a report of progress placed on file by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. McHugh. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Report is accepted. Next is the teacher list.
A list of eligible teachers and the personnel report.
Mr. McHugh.
Mr. Mayor, could I just make a brief statement? I'd like to send this a grant report to the city councilors, just so they're aware of some of the things that we're dealing with. I think we always talk about our budget and our situation. I think this is an important document, just so they understand what we're dealing with our grant situation. So I'd make that in form of a motion to forward this to them, just as an FYI.
Motion to forward this report to the city council by Mr. McHugh, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. But just so I understand, is this direct impact on in the school department budget?
No direct impact. These are services for youngsters in family daycare before they enter the public schools.
Okay.
And it's also funding for people who work in daycare settings and family care settings in the city, caring for young children who have been able to pursue associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees through grant monies.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the list of eligible teachers.
Yes, you have the most up-to-date list of eligible teachers, and I just want to comment that Assistant Superintendent Sue Duggan has been working very hard with principals very, very aggressively to fill vacancies. This is the time of year when we get some last-minute resignations, some last-minute, decisions by people to take another year of maternity leave, variety of last-minute changes. But we remain in better shape than we have ever been before in our staffing. So we anticipate being able to open the school year with all but a very few vacancies.
Thank you. Motion to accept the report by Ms. Fedicante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is approved. Next is the personnel report.
Yes, again, it's provided to you monthly.
Motion to accept.
Motion to accept by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Ms. Martin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The report is approved, accepted. And finally, home education.
A request for home education, which requires school committee authorization.
Motion to approve, Your
Motion to
Honor.
approve the report by Ms. Faticante, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Faticante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Under new business, there is an item for superintendent's evaluation. I think we've covered that. So we'll go to convention conference requests. Permission is requested from the following athletic teams to travel and stay overnight for state competition on the following dates. No substitute teachers are needed for any of these trips. First, the football team preseason camp at Center Harbor, New Hampshire from August 23rd to August 27. Expenses paid by the student athletics and bus transportation to be paid from the athletic budget not to exceed $1,000. Second, by the boys and girls cross-country teams to travel to the Manhattan Invitational in Yonkers, New York, September 30 through October 1. Expenses not to exceed $650 are paid from the athletic budget. Third, boys and girls indoor track teams to travel to Brown University, Providence, Rhode Island, from December 26th through December 28th. Expenses not to exceed $600 are to be paid from the athletic department budget. And finally, the ice hockey team to travel to Portland, Maine for the Maine hockey tournament from December 27 to December 31. All tournament expenses are paid by the Friends of Lowell High School hockey parents, and transportation expenses will be paid from the athletic budget not to exceed $1,000. Motion to approve these requests by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leahy. Roll call, please.
Ms. Doherty.
Yes.
Ms. Faticante.
Yes.
Mr. Leahy.
Yes.
Mr. Leary.
Yes.
Ms. Martin.
Yes.
Mr. McHugh.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Okay, and under communications, we do have a thank you note from the family of Kenneth Waldrop. If I could just read, Dear Carla and the Lowell School Committee, thank you for the moment of silence in memory of my father. Your kindness is very much appreciated. Sincerely, Darlene M. Dandurant of the Sullivan School. Motion to accept the communication placed on file by Mrs. Faticante, second by Mr. Leahy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That matter is placed on file. And I believe that concludes the agenda. Mr. Leahy?
Thank you. I had a question, so I don't know if I should ask for a point of personal preference.
Only if he has his Mr. Rogers sweater on.
Go ahead.
Okay, if I could, I had a question for you. If there was any update on...
That's out of order.
Well, I was wondering if there was an update on, there was a motion put in by Councilor Mercia for a four-way stop at Draper Street in Glenwood, and I didn't know if you could get us an update or if you knew anything about that.
I believe, I will get you a report. I think the council got a report last week on that, and I think the traffic engineer had determined the traffic counts didn't qualify for a four-way stop, but I may be confusing it with another intersection, so
All right.
let me make sure I have the right one. It's
All right.
Glenwood and
The
Draper.
the main concern is during school hours. So it did get, she had to put it in twice because it didn't pass the first time. So that was my main concern. During school hours especially, it's, people are, they're late, so they're speeding up the street, and then after school, it's just everybody's trying to get out, so, thank you.
Okay. I will check into it and let you know what I find out. Okay, motion to adjourn by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Doherty. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.